Well, Dave, talk about what was maybe the hardest part of all this, if you had to pick. I mean, did you guys miss any birthdays or anniversaries or anything like that?
Um, no, I think the hardest part, John, was just, um, I'm very into my job. Um, and especially this year, I mean, I really view it as one of my responsibilities is to try to keep our team COVID free and our staff COVID free. So, I'm pretty intense and pretty wired to begin with. And now you throw the challenge of managing a team through COVID, and then I don't get to see my wife and family at all. So my life, there was no balance. I didn't want to go home because there was nothing to go home to.
Right.
And so you just, during the season, you get on that hamster wheel and you just pedal and pedal, and there was just no breaks. And so I would stay here later, watch more film, just I didn't want to go home to an empty house.
Well, Dave, a lot of families have been able to kind of create their own bubble depending on what they do for a living, and you haven't really been able to do that, create that family bubble. And were you at all afraid of maybe burnout? I mean, we've heard about the Joe Gibbs stories where he slept at his office. I mean, were you at all worried about something like that when you didn't have your family as a kind of as a stress reliever, really?
John, the way I approached it is that there was a lot of people during the pandemic that were making sacrifices.
Okay.
If you signed up to be a nurse or a healthcare worker, you were on the front lines with this thing. If you were a teacher and the school was saying we're having in-person classes. And so to me, if you sign up to be a coach, and especially a head coach, you sign up for everything. And I signed up for this. And I just viewed this as, listen, no different than somebody in the military that's going to take an overseas station for 6 months. This was going to be a 6 to 7 month period in our life that was going to be challenging, but we'd get through it. And it's certainly not the sacrifice that military families make. So I really viewed this as, hey, this is going to be 6 to 7 months. It's not going to be easy, but you can do anything for 6 to 7 months and get through it. And there'll be a backside of this. And once we get there, we'll be fine.
What were some of the things that you missed? I know, I used to see you at church on Saturday nights when you didn't have a game. You would go to, and just things like that. You mentioned how you haven't been able to go as a family. I mean, things like that. Did you ever maybe take it for granted back in the old days almost?
Yeah. I mean, Courtney and I were talking about the other day. I mean, I go to mass every week, and I haven't been to mass since March. And part of it was, we're telling our team, don't be in large groups, don't go to public gatherings. I felt if I went to mass, I was being a hypocrite.
Right, right.
We like going out to dinner as a family. That's something that we like to do. We haven't been out to dinner since March. I mean, anything that I've asked our players to do and any sacrifice that I've asked them to make, I feel if I don't make that same sacrifice, I'm being a hypocrite.
And how has Catherine been through all this? I mean, obviously I know her. I mean, she kind of know what she signed up for when you guys got married and stuff. I mean, has she been okay through all this and everything?
John, she's fine. I'm the one that struggled. I mean, I'm way more dependent on her than she is on me.
So it took a pandemic for you to realize that, or?
I always knew that.
And I know we've talked about the team aspect of it, and we've been, I think I counted 14 weeks when you get to the Notre Dame game, and you've played 7 games. Do you weigh that? Has it been worth it? And
yes,
okay,
absolutely, it's been worth it. Because what would our players be doing if they weren't here?
Right. Good point.
So this has been far from ideal. It's been challenging. It beats the alternative that they're all at home, not able to do anything.
Right.
And people say that, it was all about the money. It's all about, that's not true at all, especially at Wake Forest. We gave our players the option of whether they wanted to play or not. And I think from a mental health standpoint, football has been the one somewhat normal thing in their life.
And Courtney and Erica, I mean, I know he's a senior in high school, correct? And then Courtney is a junior at Davidson?
No, she's a senior.
Senior, wow. I mean, how have they reacted? Do you see them maybe, have they called you more just to kind of keep in contact?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's, I think first of all, in the pandemic, we were all together the whole day, every day. And that brought our family closer together. And I mean, Courtney and I FaceTime 2 or 3 times a day.
Okay, good.
And we never did that before. I mean, it's almost like clockwork. She'll call me at 11:30, 11:45 before I go to a staff meeting. I'll call her on the way home, and then we'll talk again at night before we go to bed. Now she's back now from Davidson. Davidson ended classes.
Okay.
But I would say one of the huge silver linings of the pandemic is our family's never been closer.
Okay.
I mean, we had all that time together, March, April, May, June. And I mean, we didn't get on each other's nerves. We loved it. We got along great. I mean, all those things that you think you're going to do, board games, watching movies together, going on long walks, you end up doing that stuff because there was nothing else to do. And then you find out you really, really enjoy it.
And I know, that the family was a big part of going to games and stuff like that, and they haven't been able to do that. I mean, they've been able to watch on TV, but is that kind of a different dynamic too? And I think that's for all your coaches, that the families could kind of come, but not really. I mean, has that been something you guys have talked about as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, at the beginning, it was no family members. And
Right.
Then when Courtney was at Davidson and Catherine was at the beach, Courtney would come, she came to a home game or two.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, usually after every game, I mean, Courtney, Catherine, and Eric are all they're in the press conference.